Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
Hey, yo, check this out. This is Flavor Flav, and if you want the whole truth and nothing but the whole truth, so help the whole truth. Hey, yo, you better listen to Dante, baby. Dante!
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another great edition of the Dontaes Boxing Nation show. I am your host, Dante, and we have another great show for you guys, as always. It went down last weekend, Lomachenko versus Nicholas Walters. Very impressive performance by Lomachenko. We're going to answer a whole lot of questions. I mean, should Nicholas Walters have quit, or should he have gone out on his shield? How good is Lomachenko? We're going to answer all those questions within the next hour and a half. Also, we're going to take phone calls as well. Go ahead and just call in the number that you guys see on the screen right now. We'll probably chop it up a little bit, and then we'll take some calls. We'll take as many calls as we can, guys. We're also going to talk about Andre Ward versus Kovalev, his pay-per-view numbers. A lot of people buzzing about that, so we're going to talk about that. And whatever else you guys want to talk about when you guys call in. All right? First things first, let me go ahead and introduce my man on the panel and on the line. This man, he's a boxing writer on BoxingInsider.com. My man Kirk Jackson, he's on the line. What's going on, Kirk?
How you doing?
All right, man. We're going to go ahead and get it in, y'all. We're going to go ahead and get it in. Once again, we're going to take some calls in a minute, but let's go ahead and talk about this. So, Kirk Jackson, we talked about this last week, man. Let's go ahead and get into it. First thing I want to do is I want to give my little breakdown. I want to elaborate on the post-fight video that I did when I talked about the fight. I was really impressed with Lomachenko. As you guys know, last week, you heard me slightly lean towards Lomachenko. I thought the fight would play out two ways. Either Lomachenko would go in there and he would completely just outbox and have Nicholas Walters frustrated, or it would start off competitive and Nicholas Walters would slowly get into the fight and possibly walk down Lomachenko. So it looked like it was Lomachenko that turned out to outbox and completely frustrate Nicholas Walters. Now, my whole thing is, once again, should Nicholas Walters have quit? I mean, there's a lot of confusion on what took place in the corner. Kirk, go ahead and speak on that, man. How surprised were you that Nicholas Walters had quit, and what did you think? What was your reaction?
I was probably just like everyone else watching the fight. I was pretty shocked. I was actually texting a friend watching the fight, and the first thing we texted each other simultaneously was, wow, wow, it's really over. And, of course, when they see a boxer quit, they can reference Roberto, probably an example with the whole no mas thing. Some people may reference Miguel Cotto. Some people can reference this fight. I think they're all different circumstances, and it's easy as a viewer to say, oh, he's a bitch, he shouldn't have quit. But we really don't know what's going on. Nicholas Walters could have been, extremely injured. He could have had an injury that maybe he went into the fight with. Maybe it got worse as the fight went on. Maybe he wasn't going to be able to turn the tables and win the fight, and he wanted to save himself from further harm. Only Nicholas and his camp really knows what happened, but I mean, it's kind of disappointing as a fan to see the fight not go the full 12, or to see a fighter, quote unquote quit, but we don't really know what's going on, so I can't judge him. He's in the ring. He made the decision he felt like he had to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it is what it is. Now, Roy Jones, he said that he believed that now you could possibly put Lomachenko in the top 3 pound for pound. He said his list consists of Andre Ward, number 1, Lomachenko, number 2, and Andre Ward, number 3. And Sergey Kovalev, number 3. What do you think about that pound for pound list? Could you put him up in there, or what? In the top 3, where would you put him?
I'd put him in the. He's a top fighter. I don't know about the top 3. He has Andre Ward as the number 1 fighter. That is correct for sure. It's hard to argue against Sergey Kovalev, being as he took the number 1 pound for pound fighter to the brink. And I mean, he's obviously a great fighter. Still Lomachenko, he has a wonderful pedigree, great fighter, very talented. I'd like to see more than 10 to 15 fights on someone on a resume for me personally.
Yeah.
He definitely has the skills, and I mean, he obviously beat a top fighter with Nicholas Walters. I wouldn't put him top 3 just yet, but I mean, if he keeps taking fights like Walters and keeps on proving, his skills against top competition, he'll definitely be in there in my eyes at some point, but not right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And another thing is, it's crazy how Walters, he quit like that, because the first 4 rounds were very competitive. I like what Lomachenko was doing in there, and I like what Nicholas Walters was doing in there. He was making the adjustments. He was adapting to Lomachenko's style. I was really impressed with Nicholas Walters' defense, because Lomachenko, he's used to throwing them flurries and people just standing there getting hit from every which way. But Nicholas Walters, he was avoiding all those punches. He was doing something really smart. When Lomachenko would lead, sometime Nicholas Walters, he would take a quick step back, and he would avoid all of Lomachenko's punches, or he would take a little dip to the side, and he would throw a hook to the body and he would time Lomachenko when Lomachenko would come in. So those were things he was doing that I thought was pretty impressive. But you got to give credit to Lomachenko, because then I would notice that Lomachenko, he would adjust to that body punch that Walters was throwing. What Lomachenko does is little small things that people don't pay attention to that I'm impressed with. And one of the main things I noticed he was doing is he would throw combinations. And after he would throw his combinations, because he knew Walters was trying to catch him on the inside with those hooks, he would either fall into a clinch, or he would throw a combination and he would just smother. Walters. He would get so close to Walters to where Walters would have no space or no leverage to actually, get his punches off. And that's how he took away Nicholas Walters' inside game. So when Nicholas Walters, everybody kept saying, when I was watching the fight, everyone in the media row, they kept saying, man, why isn't Walters throwing his jab? Why isn't he throwing his jab? And the reason why he wasn't throwing the jab, because he was worried about getting countered with Lomachenko's left. But the thing is, when I think about the fact that he quit like that, I think of so many fighters that knew that they were possibly about to get knocked out, and they just went out on their shield. I think of fights, I go way back, I think of like Holyfield, at least way back for me. When I think of Holyfield versus Rigondeaux, the third fight, I remember it was a very even fight, and Holyfield, he says something happened to him. I don't know if he was having breathing problems, but he knew he couldn't go to the whole 12 rounds. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the fight went from a chess match to Holyfield coming out in the round that it ended, and he just went toe-to-toe with the much bigger Rigondeaux, and he got knocked out. So his way of thinking was, I'm going to either knock this guy out in this next round, or I'm going to get knocked out. But that's how I'm going to go out in this fight. And obviously, Nicholas Walters, he didn't go out like that, and it's very unfortunate, because, this may really, really affect his reputation, and do you think it's going to be harder for him to get fights? Or, I mean, I don't think it will be, because we know fighters like Roberto Duran, he quit, and, he came back and resurrected his career. What do you think, Kirk?
I think he's going to face some difficulty. It's unfortunate, because you listen to Nicholas Walters in his interviews, and you see him interact with fans. Like, he's very friendly. He's you get the sense that he's a really nice person.
Mm-hmm.
And he's fight friendly as well. He's an action fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But he also happens to be a part of the quote unquote coincidental list.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how that goes. And
yeah.
With Roberto Duran, what worked for him is, of course, he was obviously a great fighter, and he had the machismo, personality and attitude. He embodied, what you wanted from a fighter, especially from a Latino's perspective. And I speak on behalf of some of the Latinos, because I am actually part Panamanian.
Mm-hmm.
But he also had the skin tone to get away with certain things.
Oh, no doubt about it. Like you said, we already we already know what time it is. I mean, just like I was just telling you right before we started, Kirk, I told you I went to the Mayweather gym the other day, and I was talking to Kevin Newman, and Kevin Newman, who is matter of fact, he's fighting this Friday. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and plug the Mayweather Promotions card this Friday. Mayweather Promotions, they have a pretty good local card. So everybody out here in Vegas, or if you come into Vegas, you really want to check it out. It's at Sam's Town Casino. Kevin Newman will be fighting. Maurice Lee, shout out to Maurice Lee, he'll be fighting. I believe Mike Jones is fighting on that card. It's some really good fights. Matter of fact, Maurice Lee, I'm really interested in seeing his fight because he's going up against one of our stablemates, our former stablemates at the gym that we were training at. My man Cameron, shouts out to Cameron Carrill. He has like a 500 record, but it's a very deceptive record because he started late. Well, I won't say he started late. He actually turned pro early, I should say. He turned pro at, I think, like 19. He didn't have too many amateur fights. But anyway, long story short, he is a very good fighter. And you could be very misled if you look at his record, because he lost to a lot of undefeated prospects. So that fight, I'm really looking forward to watch. So once again, guys, that's at Sam's Town. Go ahead and check it out here. One of the good local fights out here in Las Vegas. But, now I done forgot what I was basically saying. What was I saying, man?
I know we were talking about Nicholas Walters and if he'd had difficulty getting fights in the future. And, he does have that skin tone going against him. And not even just that, but he's a dangerous fighter. He can fight on the inside, on the outside. He's a power puncher. He's very skilled. And actually, honestly, and you pointed out to this, that's what kind of makes Lomachenko's performance so special, because you mentioned how the subtle adjustments he made throughout the course of the fight and how he would smother Walters' inside activity, which is really impressive when you think about how well of an inside fighter Walters is. And for him to be able to do that, not to compare him directly to a Bernard Hopkins or Andre Ward or Floyd Mayweather skill-wise, but with Hopkins, especially towards the end of his career, how he would sometimes come in with like a lead right hand, or he'd come in with a lead right hand and like a shoulder attack, and how he would smother your punch where you couldn't do anything after that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different technique, but kind of like the same goal in mind, basically.
Absolutely.
Shut off.
Absolutely. And I'm going to take a call in a second, guys, for everybody that's on hold right now, and I appreciate you guys calling in. We're going to try to take as many calls as we can during this broadcast. But now I remember what I wanted to say, Kirk. I was talking about Kevin Newman because when I interviewed him, he was saying, he was praising Loma. He was like, man, it was a great performance, but it's unfair that when fighters like Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker, Guillermo Rigondeaux, when they're doing the same things, they don't get the same type of praise that Lomachenko does, right? So, I mean, I kind of look at it, I use this analogy, and it just popped in my head right now. It's like the New Kids on the Block versus New Edition. You feel me? It's like New Edition, they were the originators that basically did the dancing, the R&B, and all that kind of stuff. And even though they were the best at it at the time, New Kids on the Block, they were selling, 5 times more than New Edition, right? So right now, you got Lomachenko, who's really the new kid on the block / Eminem of boxing right now, where, let's just keep it real. Fans, they prefer to see someone of his complexion to do the exact same things, which is unfair because if you really love boxing, if you're a real boxing fan, it shouldn't matter, obviously, what color the person is. If you like boxing and you like what they're doing, it shouldn't matter. But we know that's only in a perfect world. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take a call right now. And everyone that I introduce, I'm going to introduce you guys by your area code since I don't know your name, all right? So when you hear your area code, most likely I'm talking to you, all right? So we got my man, area code 832 is on the phone. What's going on, man?
Hey, Dante, how you doing?
All right, man. I'm doing good, brother. What's going on?
About the Lomachenko, I got 2 quick questions for you because I'm on my way to work. I was very impressed with Lomachenko, my eye test, but man, the man only had 8 fights and he's 7-1. How is he on a pound for pound list that quick? I mean, they comparing this man to Pacquiao and all this other stuff. And don't get me wrong, Carl Frampton and all that. And Lomachenko is a good talent. I think he got a lot of upside.
Mm-hmm.
But pound for pound already, and he's 7-1.
Well,
that's crazy.
Well, let me answer that and respond to that. The first thing I will say is we have to remember Guillermo Rigondeaux, the same thing. You know, he had more fights than Lomachenko. But the bottom line is, if Lomachenko is beating fighters like Gary Russell Jr., and then he moves up in weight and he beats a Nicholas Walters, even though he hasn't beat a top 10 pound for pound fighter yet, I think that's enough for him to crack even the top 5. I truly believe it. I mean, I believe that's that good of a resume. I mean, especially if you're comparing him to Roman Gonzalez. Because if you look at, you know, right. Roman Gonzalez, he ain't beat no Gary Russell Jr.'s. He ain't beat no Nicholas Walters. And I don't think that he could beat a fighter like that, especially not moving up in weight to fight like a Nicholas Walters, you know? So you got to give Lomachenko credit for that. But what was your other question?
And my other question is about Andre Ward. Man, when I watched that fight, I can honestly say it had me kind of emotional, misty-eyed, bro, because that was like a Rocky versus the Russian, man.
Yeah.
You ever seen Rocky 2?
About 50 times. Well, all of them about 50 times. Yeah.
And when I seen that man get up after that punch, man, the heart it took him to get up to go over with his game plan. Hey, I'm an Andre Ward fan, but I want you to educate me with this, in my opinion about this. I feel like, on the cool, I feel like Andre Ward might need to relinquish them belts and go back down, bro. Because I think that's too much for him, man. Like, don't get me wrong, he more skilled than Kovalev. He outclassed the man, and it was a very close fight. So if he would have won or lost, I honestly wouldn't have had no problem with either or, because that's how close that fight was. I personally had him up one, but it could have went either or.
Oh, no doubt about it. And
when he was taking them shots, bro, say, man, like, that was scary, man.
It was.
I don't think he built for that class.
Well, I mean, the fact that he finished stronger than Kovalev did, you know, the fact that by the 12th round, it showed that it suggested what we were looking at. The perception was Andre Ward wanted it more than Kovalev did. You would expect the smaller guy, the dude who moved up in weight, you would expect him to slow down. You would expect him to be more discouraged. But it was Kovalev that seemed to be a bit discouraged and, you know, and slowed down. He admitted in a post-press conference that he was tired. Ward was tired too, but he was showing that he wanted it more. So I don't know if he could go down to 168 because he's already said that he wants to fight Golovkin now. You know, he said he wants to fight Golovkin, and he said he wants to fight him at 175. So that tells me that he's probably not comfortable anymore at 168. Maybe he can do it at a catch weight. But Kirk Jackson, what do you think about what my man just said?
He actually makes a pretty good point. I mean, actually, you both do. I mean, watching the fight again and watching the later rounds, Andre finished stronger, and he's a smaller fighter, smaller guy moving up facing the bigger fighter, the long tenured guy at light heavyweight. I was actually thinking about the same things the gentleman said about how well can Ward do going forward at this weight class. He looks like he is kind of on the smaller side at light heavyweight. So I'm just kind of thinking in my mind against his matchups against an Adonis Stevenson, a Kovalev in the future, a rematch. Some of the other hard hitters.
Brother, you're absolutely right about that. Because I feel like skill wise, Andre Ward topped all of them. But getting hit with them shots, oh man, it took Ward nuts to keep going in after Kovalev and fighting him in the inside. Because he had to take some shots to get in there. And he dodged a lot of them.
Yeah.
One shot, I think it was around the 6th round, Kovalev swung a shot and it barely grazed him.
I remember. That's funny.
When he got that shot, I thought it was over. If he would have connected, I really think it would have been over.
Oh yeah, it was a couple of. That's funny. That's funny you bring that up though, because I thought the same thing when I was watching the fight. I seen some shots that grazed Ward, and I was like, wow. It's like it was almost like the shot landed because you could just see, you could feel the wind on it. You know what I mean? So there's no doubt about it. Sergey Kovalev is a very strong puncher, but, you know, the great fighters, they had to deal with adversity and beat fighters that were strong punchers and much bigger than them. So, I mean, Andre Ward, as crazy as it is, Andre Ward is still talking about possibly fighting heavyweight one day, you know? So, I mean, and he said, and I know a lot of fighters say this, we don't know if it's true or not, but Andre Ward, when it comes to Kovalev's power, he said that he wasn't the strongest puncher he ever faced. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what Andre Ward said. So it's interesting. But anyway,
I ain't never seen Ward shook up like that, man.
Oh, no doubt. He's never been. But the whole thing is, just because you get caught and knocked down and hurt bad, it don't always mean that was the hardest puncher. But when in Sergey's case, it could be. It could be possible that he is the hardest puncher that Ward has ever faced. But, you know, it is what it is, man. Hey, man, but thanks for your call, man. I'm going to go ahead and take another call. Take care, all right, man?
All right, thank you.
All right, no doubt, man. You was about to say something, Kirk?
Yeah, I wanted to point it out also that in one of Andre's tune-up fights, he fought Sullivan Barrera, I believe his name is.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he actually fought at cruiserweight at one point. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he was able to handle his shots pretty effectively.
Absolutely.
And then also just looking at Andre's resume, he's fought hard hitters like Saki Obika, Alan Green, Arthur Abraham, Carl Froch. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe we're looking a little bit more into it because it's Sergey Kovalev, but you know, I think his beard has stood the test of time so far.
I mean,
he'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, like I said, if you look at the history of the sport, man, you got, I mean, even from present to past, you know, Floyd Mayweather fighting against Canelo, massive puncher, 15, 20 pounds bigger than Floyd. Pernell Whitaker, who only had like 12 or 15 knockouts out of 40 fights. He's fighting against Julio Cesar Chavez. I mean, Floyd Mayweather going against Diego Corrales and Muhammad Ali against George Foreman. You're always going to have an opponent who has, you know, certain attributes that you don't have. You know, I mean, that's the name of the game. It's, you know, a lot of times it's speed versus power or, you know, brains versus brawn. So, you know, that's not really that much of a surprise that, you know, you have someone in the ring that has an advantage like that. But, you know, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and take another call. Let me see over here. So we got area code 551. What's going on, man?
What's up, Dante? What's up? It's your boy Seven from Jersey City, New Jersey. How you doing, brother?
All right, good. What's going on, man? What's on your mind?
Kurt? I just want to say, well, Andre Ward, man, he told Max Kellerman that he never been dropped before. I'm looking at it right now. He got dropped by Donnell Boone, man. Y'all forgot about that. Nobody's talking about that, and he fell crazy. He looked like Zab Judah.
He was hurt bad in that. He was hurt bad in that fight.
He got dropped real bad. You know, he's a tough competitor. He's one of my number one fighters, pound for pound. You know, I give it to him. He stepped all the way up and moved up because some people made him move up. Dante, you know what's going on. You always on point with your you know, your eulogy and everything. But
I appreciate it. We already know.
I see him beating Adonis Stevenson, man. Adonis Stevenson last fight, man, because I watch them fights hard, man. I look at all these fights and I study them. Adonis Stevenson ain't gonna go nowhere from his power, man. It's like Mayweather. Mayweather don't got no power. Mayweather is a great showman, great boxer. You know, 19 years, great for the sport. You know, great athlete. You know, but he ain't gonna knock nobody out, man. He's not gonna knock nobody out, Dante.
Yeah. Well, you talking about Andre Ward ain't gonna knock nobody out?
Him or Mayweather, they ain't gonna knock nobody out.
Well, see,
they great with their skill. They very skillful. Don't get me wrong.
Remember this.
They very skillful.
Just remember this. It was a dude that weighed $105 that knocked out Suge Knight. You feel me?
Yeah.
So with that, with that being said,
I'm 7'2", Dante. You know what I mean? I could get scratched out too.
Anybody. You get caught with you get caught with a shot you don't see, you could easily be hurt. But the more important thing we should be looking at is if these guys can't knock you out, or if their opponent feels that way, why are their opponents showing them so much respect? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, because if you're in the ring with someone, you don't fear their power at all. You feel like, oh, they hit like a girl or something like that. You ain't gonna care about their power. You're not gonna have any respect for them. So when someone like Floyd Mayweather's in the ring with Canelo, like you just mentioned Mayweather, like when Andre Ward is in the trenches, in the deep trenches, in the deep waters with Kovalev, and when I say deep waters, I'm talking about that second half. You know, why isn't Kovalev, you know, you would think Kovalev say, man, I knocked this dude down already. I staggered him with a jab in the first round. You know what I mean? This dude ain't got nothing for me. You would not expect him to show that level of respect for Andre Ward in the second half. And that's the reason why at the end of the day, you know, that power or you know, thinking a person has power or not, it could be tricky. It could be a tricky gamble looking at an opponent like that, because anybody can knock you out with 8-ounce gloves. You know, I done been in the ring. I already know. You know, it don't matter how much power. It don't matter how much power you got. You get caught with a body shot and you don't brace yourself, you know, because I didn't have the wind took out of me where I couldn't breathe for like 15, 20 seconds. And it wasn't against no power puncher, you know? So yeah, man. I mean, it's more to it than just, you know, physical, you know. So that's what it is. And to respond to what you were saying about, you were talking about Ward against Adonis, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think I personally,
I see him take. Who was the last guy he fought? Who was the last guy he fought, Dante?
You talking about Adonis, right?
Yes.
Tommy Williams, Top Dog. He looked good against Top Dog. He looked good against Thomas Williams.
He was going at it, man.
Yeah.
He was going at it. My man took his stuff, and he took his stuff. I mean, he ate it and looked at him. It looked like Adonis Stevenson was on his way, but he climbed right up out of there, man. He climbed right up out of there, man.
Yeah.
I watch these fights, Dante, just like you watch them. I watch these fights, man. And I know Ward is an Olympian. Hats off to him. I respect him.
Yeah.
For even going in that weight class. But, man, Adonis Stevenson, rest in peace to Emmanuel Stewart, one of the best trainers in the world. He is not going nowhere, man.
Hey,
he's not going nowhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, he ain't got to go nowhere. All he got to do is you know, come up short for 12 rounds. But that's a competitive fight. That's a competitive fight, man. I know. I mean,
I know, but I don't know. I don't know, man.
Kirk,
like
what you think?
They're gonna respect him.
Huh? What's up?
I said they're gonna respect Ward before they, you know, before they do anything stupid in that ring. I know that, man.
Oh, no doubt, man. Hey, man. Well, thanks for your call, man. I really appreciate it, man.
One more question.
Go ahead.
Like you said, anybody can get dropped, man. I know Fanfara got dropped in the first round against what's his name again?
Well, he the dude who's about to fight Bernard Hopkins, right?
The one about to fight Bernard.
What's his name, Kirk? What's his name, Kirk? I'm forgetting his name.
I know I can't think of the name, but I know what you're talking about.
We all just had a freeze right now. Yeah. But
I know it's something simple.
Hey, y'all tell me in the comment section, what's the boy's name that Bernard Hopkins about to fight?
Williams?
What is it?
Yeah, what is it? I don't think it's Williams.
No, it's not Williams. Joseph Smith. Is that what it is?
Joseph Smith. I know it's something. Yeah, Joe Smith. Yeah.
Good looking out, Stefano. Yeah. I mean, what I think about Joseph Smith? I mean, he's a typical brawler. I mean, you know, you put him in there with certain opponents, he has a good chance. But I mean, I don't see him beating no top guys like Adonis or Kovalev or Ward. I mean, you know, you put him in there.
If you feel as though if all these other guys got a chance, Dante, why not him?
Well, the thing is, I don't think he has the defense. I don't think he has the defense and the agility and the boxing ability to match wits with fighters like Sergey Kovalev, you know, like I said, Andre Ward. He's a little too predictable. You got to be unpredictable. You got to raise your level when you're fighting against the top, you know, notch fighters and not
the top tier guys.
Yeah,
I understand.
And you know, Fanfara, you know, he's a good fighter, but he's not on the level of a Ward, a Kovalev, you know, Adonis or anything like that. So, matter of fact, I mean, I don't even see him beating a 50-plus Bernard Hopkins. I think Bernard Hopkins, you know, in that fight, Bernard may look the way he looked when he fought against Kelly Pavlik. to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's a good fight, man, and it's a good look, man. So, but yeah, man. So, hey, I'll let you go. Hey, just call in whenever you want, man. We're gonna be doing the show.
All right, thanks for having me, Dante.
No doubt, man.
Yeah, have a good night, brother.
All right, take care, man. Kirk, what's on your mind? What'd you say?
Wow, the Stevenson-Ward fight, that's a great fight.
Yeah, that's a real good fight. I mean, me personally, you know, I would lean towards Ward in that fight. I just think he's craftier. To be honest, and I said this before, I truly believe that Kovalev is tougher for Ward than Adonis is. But I could be wrong. That's just, you know, that's the way I see it right now. But I could be wrong, but that would be a terrific fight. I mean, just think about this. Whoever is still standing, if all of them guys face each other, right? Adonis, Ward, Kovalev, and even better, Ppv'S, if all of them guys were to face each other and you have the last man standing, just imagine how impressive that's going to be. You know, so we'll see, man. We'll definitely see. So we're going to take Go ahead.
I was going to pose, well, we can wait till later because it's a question kind of out there, but I'll wait till later.
Okay, I also wanted to talk about Ward versus Kovalev pay-per-view numbers. It was just released. The numbers were released yesterday. They said they were around 160,000. And, you know, I did a video talking about it. And basically, you know, I had said from day one, I didn't understand why the fight was even a pay-per-view fight because Andre Ward and Kovalev, you know, no one has ever promoted these guys as being the savior of boxing and they're going to replace Floyd and Pacquiao like fans were saying about Gennady Golovkin. No one was saying that about Ward and Kovalev. So I truly believe the expectations weren't really that high. I mean, no one was like, you know, saying like Tom Loeffler when he was telling people, you know, the pay-per-view numbers for Golovkin, Lemieux, you know, I'm expecting 300,000, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody was saying that with this fight. You know, so, I mean, what was your reaction when you heard about the numbers, Kirk?
I'm not surprised. I mean, this kind of matchup, this was a wet dream for a boxing purist. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like anyone that really follows boxing, this is our dream match. This is the fight of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
But unfortunately for the casual fan, not too many people knew about it or really truly care because guys like Kovalev, guys like Andre Ward, unfortunately, have not been promoted properly. I don't believe they're tremendous talents, but they're just not pay-per-view attraction, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. It's disappointing because you, as a boxing fan, I would love to see a fight like this get the recognition and the acclaim that it deserves. I think a big part of it is with the media because I'm not saying us necessarily, but many members of the media don't really give fighters their proper due. You know, guys like people want to criticize, they want to criticize Floyd Mayweather for his behavior outside of the ring and say that he's not a role model, and they want to, you know, drag his name through the dirt.
Yeah.
So we kind of have a fighter like Andre Ward, personality-wise, you know, from all appearances that are, you know, given that he is the polar opposite of Floyd. You know, he's a dedicated family man, you know, an Olympian, just like Floyd, but he has like a that Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, golden smile type of thing going on. Yet he's not really promoted as such and not really given a fair shake. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
I mean, the thing is, Andre Ward, he hasn't beat Oscar De La Hoya. He hasn't beat, you know, a major star in the sport, you know, someone who has massive drawing power, basically. He hasn't fought anyone like that. And even Andre Ward, he even touched on this a long time ago. He has said, I remember at a press conference, he was like, you know, to be honest, you know, I may never become a superstar because it really depends on the type of signature opponents that, you know, you have on your resume. You know, you got to beat someone that everyone is buzzing about, and that's how you get your name out there. You know, I mean, Larry Holmes, nobody was really talking about Larry Holmes until he fought the White Hope, you know, Jerry Cooney, right? So it's like if Andre Ward was able to beat a Golovkin, someone that, you know, a lot of the fans are talking about and praising right now, that would basically help catapult Andre Ward's career. But at the end of the day, I mean, it really doesn't matter because it's more important who the best is That's really what it comes down to, is who the best is, right? So, that's what it comes down to. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to some of the people in the comment section over here. Shout out to my man Milton R-Line, and we got my man Quality Given. I probably messed that name up, but Given Quality for Life. Just some cats that been following my channel for a very, very long time. So I wanted to give shouts out to them. But yeah, man, so that's pretty much what it is. Let's go ahead and take another call right here. Let me see what we got here. All right. We got area code 954. What's going on, man?
What's up, Dante? What's up? What's going on?
Where you call and what's your name and where you calling from, bro?
Stefano. I'm calling from Boston.
Okay.
But my number is Florida. But a couple of things, man. I gotta call you out. You bring up the race card with Lomachenko. Lomachenko is like a Ukrainian guy that doesn't even speak English. No white guy gives a shit about Lomachenko, but he's just a great fighter, man. I don't give a shit about Lomachenko. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how you bring race into that, but that's how I want to.
Okay. I was looking for one of your calls. I was really looking for one of your calls. So let me go ahead and ask you.
Into that.
No. Let's go ahead and get into this. Okay. So you're telling me that you don't notice that when a guy who's not black is doing the same type of things in the ring that a black guy is doing, you're telling me you don't notice even a little bit. You don't notice that the white guy gets a little bit more credit for doing it. Are you telling me you don't notice that at all?
Yeah, I don't notice it, man.
You don't notice it at all?
Which white guy are you talking about? How many white guys are there?
Like I said,
which guy?
Floyd Mayweather, Guillermo Rigondeaux, elusive fighters that show great defense, that show angles, that look very flashy in the ring. You're telling me that you've never noticed that Max Kellerman or Jim Lampley, let's just stick with Jim Lampley. Let's say, for example, if a black guy is moving around in the ring, he calls it running. And if a guy who's not black is moving around the ring, he calls it excellent boxing. Now, I have that recorded. Now, you're telling me you haven't even noticed that? Not even once. You've never noticed it.
I'll give you that. I don't deny Jim Lampley. I think he has some like subtle racism going on sometimes, but I think they give credit to guys like Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is knocking guys the fuck out. Floyd Mayweather never did that.
No, Floyd Mayweather was knocking people.
Lomachenko knocked out that freaking Puerto Rican guy.
Listen.
The last fight, I mean, I've never seen Mayweather or
Floyd Mayweather did that in smaller weight classes. Floyd Mayweather moved up in weight 5 times. If all of these fighters moved up 5 times in weight and they were fighting against guys 15, 20 pounds bigger than them, the majority of them would not be knocking out opponents. That's why Pacquiao hasn't had a knockout in about 7 years, because he moved up 8 weight classes. So it's easier to knock people out when you're at your natural weight. Floyd was knocked out Diego Corrales. Diego Corrales had a Margarito-type chin. He used to walk through punches. I remember when he fought against Roberto Garcia, and Robert Garcia was a big deal at that time. He was an undefeated champion, and Diego was walking through all of his punches, and it was Floyd that knocked him out. Something else I want to say real quick just about his power. A lot of his sparring partners, undefeated prospects, they would tell me all the time that when they were going into camp with Floyd Mayweather, when he was a lightweight, they said that he was stopping all of his sparring partners. There's one guy, and I wish I could remember his name. He's what's his name? Italian guy. He used to always fight on ESPN. I had him on my show, but I forgot his damn name. But anyway, he told me, he said, I felt good, man, because Floyd stopped everyone in the camp. I was the only one that lasted in that camp. And Floyd had stopped every single sparring partner, and sent them home. So like I said, man, my point is, once again, when you're moving up in weight, you can't compare people who move up in weight versus people who haven't moved up in weight. I'll go ahead and respond more, but Kirk Jackson, do you want to go ahead and respond to anything he said?
No, I mean, you pretty much covered it. I'll add on to the whole Terrence Crawford thing. When he initially was fighting on HBO back when he had the long hair, HBO was very critical of Terrence Crawford. They said he was boring.
Yeah.
I remember when he fought dude from England.
Ricky Burns.
Yeah,
Ricky Burns.
It was very critical of him then. Oh, he's boring. He's not exciting.
They said it on a couple. They said it on a couple of his fights. They said, he's dominating the guy, but if he doesn't knock him out, do people really want to watch this? There, like I said, all of this is documented. This is no conspiracy theory when it comes to double standards in the sport of boxing. I mean, we have to be realistic about this, and I'm glad you brought this up. And bro, I don't take it personal. I'm glad you called in because clearly you watched the show.
You're right.
So
I'll give you credit. I mean, Floyd was wild as fuck. I actually watched an old fight with Floyd when I don't know what weight class he was fighting in, but he was just throwing punches. I've never seen him fight like that. So totally agree with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm open to hearing a different opinion.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying Lomachenko, these Eastern European fighters are knocking people the fuck out. And that's why people want to see them. I have no interest in their personal life. They're not interesting to me, but I do want to see them fight. And you also said one thing. You think Golovkin is actually going to move up to 175 and fight Andre Ward? Golovkin
no. I didn't.
Golovkin's never challenged.
I didn't say that.
Never happening.
I didn't say that. I would like to see it. I never said that. Abel Sanchez. Abel Sanchez said that. Abel Sanchez. Yeah. He said.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
Yeah, but that's Golovkin's trainer though. I'm just saying if we're talking about what was said, if the actual horse is saying that, one of these days I'm gonna put Abel on the show and let you guys call in so you guys can talk to Abel. That would really be interesting. But once again,
I got one last question.
Hold on, before I'm gonna let you ask it.
Heavyweight division. This is the one thing I want to see Deontay Wilder fight somebody before his hand gets destroyed. I don't know how many fights he has left, but he's my favorite fighter in the world. And I'm sick of him sitting around fighting these bums. I want to see him fight Joshua. I want to see him fight for one of these titles that are on the line.
Bro,
I want to see him unify the division. I don't know how many fights he has left.
Let me say.
I'm going to listen to you.
No, it's all good. But I'll say this: if he's your favorite fighter, with friends like you, Deontay Wilder, he don't need no enemies. I'll tell you that right now. The way you describe that. But let me just say this, man. Deontay Wilder. He fought against Bermane Stiverne. That was a 50-50 fight. I picked Bermane Stiverne to win that fight. That just goes to show you, what type of competition Wilder was in the ring with. He tried to fight Ppv'S. He failed the drug test. He called out Anthony Joshua, and Joshua, he said, if I fight Deontay Wilder, I'll get no credit for beating him. So Deontay Wilder, he's been trying to fight all of the best fighters. Tyson Fury, that was a fight that was, in the makings, basically. We seen the WWE promotion that they did when Tyson Fury jumped in the ring, and we knew that fight was probably only about a year away from coming to fruition. But because Tyson Fury now, he's doing this Scarface cocaine thing, now we have to wait for him to get back right. So the bottom line is Deontay Wilder, he's facing, the best competition that's available right now. And I truly believe that Deontay Wilder, he'll be fighting, the Anthony Joshuas, the Luis King Kong Ortizes, and all of those guys within the very next year. I mean, Anthony Joshua's going to most likely fight Vladimir Klitschko if he takes that fight. So, he's doing what he's supposed to do. I mean, I think there's other fighters, if we're going to criticize fighters for not fighting the best, I believe there's other fighters out there who we could really criticize, as opposed to Deontay Wilder. But thank you for your call, man. I appreciate it. Call in anytime. All right, man?
All right, man. Thanks.
Take care, man. All right. Now, see, he was giving me a mouthful, and I wanted to basically respond to every single thing he said, but he was jumping to a whole bunch of different things, and I wanted to respond to all of it. But that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for someone to call so I could go ahead and lay down the whole truth like we always do. That's pretty much what it's all about. But I appreciate that, brother, for calling in. It's nothing wrong with us, having a debate and disagreeing, but I'm just letting you know, if you do call in, you're going to be hit with some damn facts and, and some truth to back it up. So just, know that. So anyway, you was about to say something, Kurt?
Well, I was going to say it's important for everyone to know that we don't have anything against Lomachenko, Vasily Lomachenko. I mean, he's obviously a very talented fighter. Yeah. I don't see color when I'm rooting for a fighter. Some of my favorite fighters are Mexican, and I am not Mexican. So, I mean, I like skills. That's what I look for. And we're just reporting what we see, what is
And
obviously transparent. I mean,
absolutely.
Lomachenko, he gets more love because of
He
his
has a
skills are
complexion for the
obviously better.
protection. Let's not bullshit with it. And you know
Yeah.
what? Let me say this too, Kirk. I'm glad you just touched on that because it seems like the angle my man was coming from when he just said that. It's almost a guilt. He looks at it as if we notice a double standard, they look at it as they're doing something wrong. And that's not the point that we're trying to make. If I go to Denny's right now and I notice that no one is serving me and I've been there for 40 minutes and they're serving other people, who may not be black, I'm not blaming the people who's getting the food. I'm blaming the waitress or Denny's, the establishment. You feel me? So, I just want to make it clear. Yeah, this has nothing to do with Lomachenko. We give Lomachenko all kind of credit. I have Lomachenko in the top 5 pound for pound right now. I mean, it's unprecedented what he just did to Gary Russell and Nicholas Walters. But yeah, let's not act stupid and play stupid and act like we don't see double standards here, right? If I go to a damn soccer match and I see them, chanting, making monkey chants and throwing bananas on the field, I'm not going to sit over here and act like I don't see these double standards in my damn face, right? Are you going to say that, if Mel Gibson says some racial shit, are you going to say, hey, man, you're playing the race card by reporting what Mel Gibson said? You're not going to say that, right? So, let's just keep it real. I mean, no matter how you guys want to look at it, boxing is a racially driven sport. That's just what it is. It's a culturally racial driven sport. It is based on race. This is the reason why when certain races fight against each other, certain nationalities fight against each other, it's even bigger. It's based on race, it's based on nationality. Why do you think Puerto Rico versus Mexico rivalry is so big? Because people want to see those nationalities go up against each other. They want to root against a certain nationality, and realistically, they want to root against a certain race. It's funny because and I share this story a lot, but real quick, and I'm gonna take another call because there's a lot of people on hold, and I appreciate you guys holding right now. But I remember I was a little quick story when I used to throw a lot of fight parties. I would have a lot of friends from different gyms come to the house, and the majority of the time we'll have about 50 to 70 people in the house, and the majority of them would not be black. It would be, just all different races, and majority of them wouldn't be black. And I would notice that, whenever a black guy was fighting on the undercard, even when they didn't know him, everybody in the room, they would be rooting against the black guy. And I thought the first time it happened, I thought it was just, maybe just a strange coincidence. But I started noticing it would happen all the time, right? So the point that I'm making is that's what I mean when I say the sport is based on race. You could sit over here and say, I don't want to talk about it. Let's not, talk about it at all. Let's keep it on the hush, et cetera, et cetera. But no, we speak the truth over here. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. The sport is based on race, so that's the reason why Floyd Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya was such a successful event. And that's the reason why Floyd Mayweather is hated so much because, some people, they feel, how dare, this cocky black bastard talk all this shit, about Oscar De La Hoya and then turn out to beat him, so, he signed, he signed his hate certificate right there. You feel me? But anyway, let's go ahead and take another call and see what's on the callers' minds right now. We got area code 708. 708 is in the building. What's up, man?
Hey, what's good, Dante? Let me get you off speakerphone real quick. I first like to say I definitely respect what you're doing. I like what you're doing. I've been listening to you for about a year and a half now.
Appreciate it, man.
I definitely hear what you're saying. Race is involved in everything, so I don't know why these callers acting like, I don't pay attention to this. Race is involved in everything, so I definitely see what you're doing. With that being said, man, I'm a big Andre Ward fan, but I did think he lost the fight.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that.
But like I said, I still respect him. He fought back like a warrior. And I definitely am always rooting for him. And with that Walters Lomachenko thing, yeah, I'm kind of ashamed that my man. I was rooting for Walters, but I did think Lomachenko was going to win. But it's a shame he didn't fight to the end. Like I said, I didn't think he was really hurt at all. I just felt like I don't know if the fix was in, and I'm not trying to take nothing away from Lomachenko, but just the fact that he quit, man. That's a bad. You're not representing the right way, the way I think. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I said last week, I picked Lomachenko to win the fight. It's unfortunate that Nicholas Walters, he quit the way he did. But, at the end of the day, man, I give credit to fighters who deserve the credit. You know what I mean? You go out there, you put on a great performance, I give you the credit. And once again, going back to the Ward versus Kovalev fight, I mean, clearly Kovalev could have won the fight. So, I once again, I don't have no problem with anyone saying they thought Kovalev won the fight. I think the rematch will be very intriguing. I think it will be much bigger than the first fight. As we were just talking about the pay-per-view numbers, I think the pay-per-view numbers will be, much better in a rematch. But I still don't expect the numbers to be, fantastic. Maybe they'll be like 250 or 300 because once again, neither one of these guys are stars. So, but that's pretty much what I got to say about that. But Kirk,
Dante, I blame HBO for that, for the pay-per-view numbers. We all know that Kovalev is Russian, so he's not that well known over here. You know what I mean? So for them, it's kind of like it's similar to the what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. The last HBO fight with the Russian and Terrence Crawford.
Victor Postal.
Yeah, that shouldn't have been on pay-per-view either.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said.
So I blame HBO for that. So they shouldn't. And I mean, I think HBO boxing is. I ain't gonna say it's gonna slowly come to an end. I think, and there's a lot of PVC haters out there, and you know what I'm saying. People are gonna deny it and say, "Oh man, I'm not hating on PVC. I just want to see fight boxing." But the truth about the matter is, Al Heyman, they see a black man kind of running things, a businessman, and it's some hate, and people trying to deny the history of racism, and it's right in our face, man. But a real boxing fan would enjoy anything, the stuff that PBC is doing, man. They're putting on free boxing for a lot of people. They're putting on great fights. Of course, I don't care what promoter you are, what manager you are, what advisor you are. All fights aren't going to be the great fights of all time, but
of course,
I think PBC has been doing an excellent job. But that's all I have to say now. Say keep doing your thing, and like I said, much respect to you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Take care, man. So
all right now.
Yeah, but to basically add on that, it's funny, Kirk, that it was a caller who wasn't black, and I'm glad he brought it up, but it was him that brought up race. You know what I'm saying? So right. It's funny. And last week, Kirk, we did the show. No one was talking about Mayweather. I don't think you did that show. I think that was 2 shows ago. But nobody was talking about Mayweather. It's so funny how hypocritical these fans are. All of a sudden, a person calls in, and nobody's even talking about Mayweather on the show. The first thing he wants to talk about is Mayweather. And he wants to talk about his disdain for Mayweather, how Mayweather is not a great fighter, et cetera, et cetera. But I just think it's funny, Kirk, because once again, they say, oh, why are you talking about Mayweather? Why are you talking about Mayweather? But the first thing on even a hater's mind is Mayweather, right? So, right. And even if we don't talk about race and they say don't talk about race, you'll have a caller who will bring up race. And it's okay. And I don't want that caller to feel bad because I'm glad he brought that up. He brought that up and we were able to talk about it. But the thing is, people are so uncomfortable to talk about it because of their internal guilt, that they have a lot of times. I mean, this goes all the way back to day one, whenever there was a civil rights protest, you would have the KKK, they would come out throwing rocks through the windows of the, civil rights, preachers and protesters and tell them either you shut up or we're going to come over here and kill you. Stop all that talking and, stirring up trouble for the good niggers and all that. They'll say that kind of stuff. History repeats itself. Now today they say, hey, man, stop talking about that race. You're just stirring up trouble and, you're just instigating, et cetera, et cetera. But what's funny, though, is they never say this to all of the racist people that's commented in the comment section. The people who post N-word, you monkey this and you that, they never say to them, hey, man, stop talking about race. You're just stirring up the pot and making things worse. They don't say that to them, right? But they say that to the people that report the stuff. So we know what time it is, man.
Well,
we know what time it is.
The funniest thing that I've heard is they'll say that, with for example, Colin Kaepernick with him kneeling for the anthem, they'll be like, well, all he's doing is bringing attention to this and causing division. Like, are y'all blind? Saying division has been here. It's always been division. It's always going to be that way unless we actually talk about it. We talk about our feelings. The biggest thing, and I don't want to generalize all other people, but many non-black people try and tell black people how to feel about oppression or about slavery or about discrimination or whatever. The biggest mistake you can do is tell someone how to feel and tell someone how to react to their feelings and emotions and not acknowledge that.
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and give go ahead.
Yeah, Dante, I was going to talk about, the caller that called in a while ago that said, there's no racism in boxing, basically. And the funny part is... And
that's AK, by the way. AK, my man, A-Rap King just called in. Go ahead, AK.
Yeah, and as far as, Lomachenko, Lomachenko is a great fighter. We don't take nothing away from him. It's not about Lomachenko. It's about HBO, because we talking about them, not Lomachenko. Lomachenko get the credit he deserves, no doubt. He's a great fighter. And he looked like he's going to be a great fighter, I should say. However, with HBO, they put him on the Gotti list. I don't even know what the fuck that is. The people who get hit on the face, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I should say the people who are white, and they put them on the Gotti list. I don't know.
The people who ain't black most of the time.
Yeah, like, I don't know what the Gotti list is. And as soon as he turned pro, I don't know how he just got the check to be on the Gotti list.
It's a consolation prize.
It's a consolation prize, and it's also a way for Jim Lampley to say, I don't like the people on this pound-for-pound list. Okay, so what? They're the best and all that kind of stuff. But if I can't find fighters that I like to beat them, I know what we're going to do. We're just going to change the rules. If you can't beat them, you change the rules. So Jim Lampley basically said, I'm just going to come up with my own damn list, and I'm going to put the fighters that I personally like, and I'm going to try to push the agenda that it's more important to be liked as opposed to being the best. And that's basically what the Gaddy list came down to. And then to add insult to injury, then Jim Lampley, he created an anti-Gaddy list, which was basically a list of what he really should call it is Jim Lampley's favorite fighters list versus Jim Lampley's fighters that he hates list. That's pretty much what he should have called it. So then he puts on the list fighters that he doesn't like, So, I mean, it's all propaganda. And once again, in any sport, the most important thing is to be the best. There is no bigger accolade in football than winning the Super Bowl, right? So, I tell you right now, and I think almost everyone in everything that they do, they rather be considered number one, the best, even if it's at your job, if the employee of the year or whatever it is, you rather be number one than suck at what you do, but have everyone like you doing it. You know what I mean? So, that's what it comes down to.
And exactly. I agree with you 100%. And, with Lomachenko, whenever he fights, they talk about he's the Matrix. And with Rigondeaux, like Rigondeaux said, he's born with Floyd too. I mean, I remember when Floyd fought Victor Ortiz on HBO, when the fight ended, Larry said that the first time Floyd Mayweather been in an entertaining fight. And I was like, you covered most of his, career
and you're gonna tell me that's the first time you saw him in an exciting fight. You know, that shows you the biasness in that alone, and also whenever Floyd, will have just like 10 seconds of, nothing going on, like both fighters filling each other out, is automatically Floyd Mayweather boring, right? But with HBO yesterday, or I should say when he was fighting the X-Man Walters, Max Kellerman said this fight might not seem, it might seem a little boring because the arena is not as huge, so people ain't screaming as loud. So I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous. That sounds ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you see what I'm talking about?
And that's not promoting the sport. That's not promoting the sport. You're supposed to be promoting the sport, but
exactly. And as soon as he started fighting, and he landed punches on his opponent, and they arguing him being born or not, like the whole fight. How you? And then was the Rigondeaux versus Donaire born? Obviously, absolutely not.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
When he beat him, they promoted him as the next fight. They kept talking about how boring he was in the Donaire fight. So we know what time it is when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I have a question for y'all. Because during the fight, the Lomachenko fight, they actually compared Lomachenko to Pernell Whitaker, which I thought was absurd. Have you ever heard Rigondeaux compared to Pernell Whitaker?
That's a good point.
Oh,
that's a real good point.
With that one, yeah. But Pernell Whitaker with power. They even said, they said he's like Pernell Whitaker with a lot of power. And since when Lomachenko is this guy with crazy power? I mean, yeah, he's getting stoppages now, but at the end of the day, he's the type of dude who he surprised you with certain shots.
Yeah.
He's not like a fighter with Golovkin type of power who you could see the punch coming and still get hurt.
Yeah.
No, he just when you get caught with a punch that you don't see and it's fast, you're always gonna get hurt in that scenario. So he's not the fact that he hit that hard. It's just the fact that he's catching these people with punches they don't see coming.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, AK. I don't think that he's a massive power puncher. I mean, Lomachenko is just so skilled. He's hitting you with so many punches. He'll set you up. He'll distract you with one punch to set you up with another punch. And that's basically, what, once again, man, it's the Suge Knight effect. You catch a cat with a shot he don't see, he going to sleep, basically. And that's how he knocked out Roman Gonzalez. He threw a little dummy punch that basically, distracted Roman and caught him with another shot. So I mean, that's still credit to Lomachenko, but yeah, he's not, a massive power puncher. I don't believe that is the case, but like you said, clearly
he caught him with a blind shot. Yeah, exactly. And then same thing with Walters. He hurt Walters with a blind shot. But to answer, Kirk's question is, no, I don't think he has, the same defense. He has great defense, but I think Pernell Whitaker has a better defense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Defense.
Yeah, and once again, man, we have to remember, the boring and all that, those are just code words. Those are code words because when Guillermo Rigo, when he broke the last dude's jaw that he fought with one single punch, when he was fighting in a terrific fight against a 6-foot Goliath in Japan, Amagaza, and Rigo, he engaged so much to where he got knocked down, came off the canvas, stopped the Goliath, right? And then once again, he had a first-round knockout in China. Whenever he got these type of wins, people still called him boring. So once they were still calling him boring after that, we knew that was just a code word. If these fans care so much about a fighter being boring, then they would be labeling Carl Frampton as being boring because of the fight he had with Scott Quigg. They would be labeling Tyson Fury as boring because the last fight that he had with Vladimir Klitschko. And the other UK fighter, the black UK fighter, I forget his name, with the little teeny dreads and shit. What's his name? Damn, I forgot his name. He fought him twice. What's his name? The heavyweight? I forget his damn name. Y'all tell me in the comment section. What's his name? The heavyweight that he fought twice. But anyway, we'll figure it out. But those fights were not exciting. But see, even me, and this is what I mean when I say I practice what I preach.
Ortiz.
No, not Ortiz. No, Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury. He fought another UK fighter. He's like 6'2". He fought him twice. I forget his name, but if you guys are listening,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
it don't matter though. It's besides the point. We don't need to know his name anyway. But if y'all know in the comment section, go ahead and drop it. But anyway, the point that I'm making is, when these fighters they fought these guys, no one called them boring. Derek Chisora, that's his name.
Oh, Derek. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. What's that? South Star Online. Thanks, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Derek Chisora, if I could say this shit. But anyway, so that's who it was. That rematch that Tyson Fury had with Chisora, it was horrible. But I practice what I preach. Even I don't say, oh, Tyson is a boring fighter. That's why I don't like him. You never hear me say that, right? You never hear me say that about Carl Frampton because I know that styles make fights. You're in there with a certain opponent, and you may not engage the same way. You may have to be more of a chess match as opposed to you going toe to toe. If Carl Frampton is in there with Scott Quigg, it's a chess match. Carl Frampton is in there with Leo Santa Cruz. He like, oh man, this guy's flat-footed and lacks defense. I could have a field day throwing punches with this guy, right? It's the same thing with Guillermo Rigo. You put Guillermo Rigo in there with Leo Santa Cruz. You telling me you're not gonna see fireworks? Because styles make fights, right?
Man, hey Dante, man, you took that out of my mouth. When Klitschko and when he fought Tyson Fury, it was one of the worst fights I ever seen. Right? You never heard HBO complain about how boring the fight was, and then
of course,
but the fight before that, a week ago, when Rigondeaux fought on the network, they was bashing him like crazy.
It was a week. The fights was a week apart. The fights were a week apart.
Exactly, and a week ago they was just bashing the shit out of Rigondeaux.
Yeah.
And now Bob Arum came out and said that Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux is not going to happen because he want Lomachenko in exciting fights.
Yeah, and that's a
right. But you telling me why you didn't say that for Rigondeaux when Rigondeaux been down there? Why you didn't do the same thing and was like, oh, I don't want Rigondeaux to be in boring fights. I want him in exciting fights and put him against people who go for it, people who are aggressive, fighters who are, you know what I mean? Fighters
well, they tried to keep that fight from happening for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Listen.
Why you didn't do that for Rigondeaux, and then now you're trying to avoid the Rigondeaux versus Lomachenko match that everybody want to see? That's the most skillful fight of all time if you put those two dudes together.
And the translation is obvious, AK. All Bob Arum is saying is, I'm not about to let this dude come over here and possibly, fuck up what I got going right now and upset the apple cart and possibly, take away the guy that I want to build as the next star, which I understand. But Bob, why don't you just be honest about it? Just say, you know what, let's let that fight build because that's a tough fight for Lomachenko. Just say that. Stop using all the cold words because we could decipher that too easy. We already know what time it is. And quite frankly, I still think that's an uphill battle for Rigo just because of the size advantage that Lomachenko would have over Guillermo Rigo. If they were naturally the same size, I would say it would be more of a 50-50 fight, but with Rigo having to move up and wait, but then again, I think me and you talked about this yesterday, AK. At the same time, I guess Loma, he would have to come down. Loma would have to come down to 126 and Rigo would have to go up to 126. That's the only way the fight could happen. And I don't know if both fighters are willing to do that, but you know what? Let's go ahead and real quick, let's take a call because I done had these cats on hold for a long time, and you guys could go ahead and finish what you were about to say. Okay, guys, so we have area code 501 online. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Dante?
All right. Where you calling from, man? What's your name?
I'm calling from Little Rock, Arkansas. My name is Kawa.
All right. What's good, Kawa?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to give a shout out to both Lomachenko and Rigo, and I just want to go back a little bit in history, and this reminds me a lot of Jack Johnson. Rigo does, because most people, well, I don't know if a lot of people know, but boxing was segregated when Jack Johnson was the black champion.
Absolutely.
Before he finally got a shot at the heavyweight title for just the main title. And after that, they were looking for a great white hope.
Absolutely.
So basically, to me, Lomachenko right now could be that. It's kind of like what HBO is trying to make him. But they're both great fighters to me.
Oh, absolutely. And no, you're right. That's exactly what they're looking for. I mean, let's just once again, let's not sugarcoat it. Of course, they're looking for a white hope. When it comes to Jim Lampley, and that's not Lomachenko's fault. Lomachenko is a beast. He's a beast. And he's pound for pound top 5, one of the best fighters in the world. At least that's where I put him. And once again, it's not Lomachenko's fault, but that's what it's about. That's why I said let's not sugarcoat it. When it comes to what it really comes down to. And as Don King would say, race sells, and it certainly sells in the sport of boxing. Go ahead.
Because if you compare these two guys, their accolades are extremely similar. They both got 2 gold medals, World Amateur Championships. They both got titles early on in their careers. Like the only difference in styles to me that I see is the activity. And Lomachenko is a little more, proactive with his footwork and pivots. Where Rigo, he's a little more minimal. Like he'll make the minimum amount of moves he has to make. And he's more of like an explosive counterpuncher. But other than that, they're both very similar in their, high IQ level and boxing IQ.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
And
you guys think?
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask a question, you guys. Do you guys think that Bob Arum is playing the waiting game with Rigo because he is older?
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna happen, honestly, because if they're gonna wait even longer, Loma might even move up to fight. Because I think he want him to fight Pacquiao at 135 and do what Pacquiao did to Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I'm saying? And get Pacquiao, get Loma to be the star now. And going to Rigondeaux direction is too risky at a catchweight 126. But I doubt that fight gonna happen.
Yeah, I doubt it too. And I just want to give shots out every now and then. I'll glimpse at the comment section right now. For people who've been following the channel for quite some time. Shout out to OTKP. And let's see over here, the Kid. Just looking at a couple guys. I got my boy Milton Arline. That's my homie right there. What's going on, Milt? And just a couple cats over here that's been following the channel for quite some time. But I don't think that fight is going to happen. It has to happen though. I mean, the fight is huge. And once again, I want to say, my man, 501. Thanks for your call, man. We're gonna take another call. Take care. All right, man.
Take care, man. How you doing?
All right, man.
And Dante, as far as excitement, Loma he's exciting and stuff, but like the CMC fighter that you interviewed, I agree with 100%. Even though Loma might throw more punches, when Rigondeaux lands, he's more flashy, so it looks better for the eye. So that makes him more exciting when he actually lands compared to Loma landing 2-3 punches in the inside that's hard to see.
I mean, once again, they're both impressive for different reasons. I mean, you have Loma, you have Guillermo Rigo breaking people's jaws and stopping, he ends the fight. I mean, realistically, that's the type of shit you see in a movie, where, especially like a Kung Fu type of flick, where you got a dude holding a cup of tea and somebody trying to knock the shit out of him with a 10-punch combination. He holding a cup of tea, and he doesn't drop a lick. And then he comes back and he knocks that dude out with 1 punch or whatever. That type of impressive Hollywood type of shit. That's what you see with someone like Guillermo Rigo. And the same thing with Lomachenko, man. I mean, the way he eludes punches and he throws his combinations. There's some matrix stuff going on, no doubt about it. But once again, it goes back to the point, all fighters are supposed to be created equal. Give both of them the credit if they deserve it. Once again, if you're a real boxing fan, you can't sit over here and say Rigo is boring after you watch him do what you said you wanted him to do, like fight toe-to-toe, get knocked down, commit more, engage more, whatever the case may be. If you get what you're looking for and you still call him boring, then that means you're making shit up because you personally don't like him. And you don't want to flat out come out and say, I just don't like that guy. Because then you feel guilty, because then you realize you're the one with the problem, not the actual boxer, So that's pretty much what it is. Hey, AK, before I take another call, because I'm going to take another call in a minute, what do you think about the Ward versus Kovalev pay-per-view numbers?
How many were they?
It was reported at 160,000. I heard someone say 160 to 170,000, but the number I got was 160,000.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you ask me, that's good. I mean, because Kovalev ain't really that big of a name, and Andre Ward, you know, is not like a Floyd Mayweather type of a fighter who will talk trash and sell the fight, you know, and he's not fighting a Golovkin, and it could be a little controversy, you know, in that fight and stuff like that. So, and the build-up wasn't all that, to be honest with you.
No.
And I don't feel like HBO did this fight the just due they deserve by promoting it right. So it's about right. I mean, it's about what I expected. But I was hoping for 300K. I mean, if Canelo
we all were. Yeah, we all were. Yeah.
Yeah. If Canelo versus Smith would do like 300 plus, and he fighting, you know, somebody out of nowhere, and instead of ducking Golovkin as we all thought at that time. And he still pulled off 300 plus. I mean, you know, and a fight with this type of magnitude, and it's very important for the sport. Does half of that is really disappointing when it comes to the fans. But at the end of the day, I feel like the rematch. If you look at the bright side, I mean, the rematch will do more. And I agree with you as far as waiting. You know, I feel like if they wait and fight some tune-up fights and fight each other again, that's even going to build up the fight even more, you know, instead of just fighting each other in a rematch like right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Let's go ahead and take another call. We have 773 online. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Dante?
All right. What's good? Where are you calling from?
My name is Alonzo. I'm calling from Chicago.
Okay. Chi-Town.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Ward Kovalev fight. That was a pretty entertaining fight. You know, I was pretty shocked. Like I called last week, and I was going to piggyback on what you said about how surprised I was at how Kovalev, you know, came at Ward, because he came at him hard in those first 3 rounds, and had him off balance and knocked him down. And I was surprised. I was shocked, like, man, you know, but that was, you know, kind of a little rust to him too, you know, to Andre Ward. So I understand he wasn't as active as Andre Ward, just like when the Nicholas Walters fight, you know, he wasn't as active as he said he was, and that's a true statement too. But you know, you don't take fights, you know, with you know, pound for pound fighters, and then use it as an excuse after, you know, you fight them. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get in there and get active. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I also have a question about the PPC. A lot of PPC fighters, like, they seem like they're getting a little, you know, they're getting a little fat. You know what I'm saying? And starting to feel good about themselves without, you know, going out there and
like who?
Promoting, like, you know, Danny Garcia.
I figured you was gonna say him.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Those, like, fighters, they supposed to, they was on PBC, and they were supposed to be promoted as, you know, the fighters, you know what I'm saying, the main events. But they weren't promoting themselves, you know what I'm saying? Like, Al Heyman, he's giving you the opportunity to get to these stations. He's giving you the NBC, the Spike TVs, and, you know, ESPN and stuff like that, Fox, you know what I'm saying? But you can't act like and live like Floyd Mayweather, and don't want to be like, you know, when he was in his pretty boy stage, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
he had to fight.
Yeah.
Get those. You feel me?
Well, you know, I truly believe that if they continue on the path they're going right now, especially Keith Thurman, if he continues to beat fighters like Sean Porter, and if he beats Danny Garcia, because that's a tough fight, it's no guarantee. You know, matter of fact, the winner of that fight, you know, if they continue to, you know, fight good fighters and get signature wins on their resume, I think that propels their career. I mean, you know, it's very difficult to become the next Floyd Mayweather or De La Hoya when it comes to superstar status, or Mike Tyson. But I truly believe, you know, the first thing you have to do is keep winning. That's the most important thing. And you got to get those big names on your resume. And I mean, I don't really think it's really Keith, the fighter's responsibility to promote themselves. I really don't. I mean, even though Shannon Briggs does a great job at doing it, because nobody else is going to promote him, so he got to promote himself. But I think as long as they're focused on winning, training hard, they'll continue to propel and progress when it comes to star status. So that's what I see, man. But
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, do you believe that Jim Lampley is going to actually put Andre Ward on top of his pound for pound list?
Absolutely not.
He had him at always number 4.
That's a good question.
The toughest guy.
What you think? What you guys think about that? I'll let you guys answer that one first.
The way he was talking about how he think Kovalev won the fight, and the way he was praising Lomachenko, which he should be praised. But at the end of the day, he's gonna say, "Oh, Lomachenko deserved the number 1 spot." Andre Ward, he lost that fight, blah blah blah. So he probably put Kovalev on top of Andre Ward. So he probably put Andre Ward number, 4.
That's funny. Listen,
Jim Lampley's top 5 would probably be Lomachenko, Gennady Golovkin,
Kovalev,
maybe
Kovalev, and
then Pacquiao, maybe or something like that.
And Gaddy, and then Gaddy at number 6. What's up?
Oh, Roman Gonzalez too.
No, yeah, Roman will be Roman. He'll
on top of the list.
Yeah, he'll have Roman. He'll have Roman probably before Andre Ward. The bottom line is Jim Lampley is a joke, And it's funny because a little off the subject, or it's kind of on the subject, but it's funny because last week, how I tell you, the sport is racially driven, based on nationality and race. I felt like Kovalev-Ward, it felt like the OJ verdict. You know what I mean? When OJ was found not guilty. And then Lomachenko versus Walters, I think the perception of a lot of fans that were upset, they looked at that as vindication as the second OJ verdict, when OJ was found guilty and he went to jail. So I feel, a lot of fans, they feel, vindicated, that they feel that, watching Lomachenko beat Nicholas Walters, they feel a lot more better now. I think a lot of people, they're coping with the Ward Kovalev situation a little better now because of what we just seen this weekend. But when it comes to the pound for pound list, you can't even really take Jim Lampley as a serious person. His pound for pound list is a joke, basically. It's not a real pound for pound list, and he makes it very clear when he does his show, when he talks boxing, that he's basing things on who he personally likes. He bases that all the time. Like when I remember him getting into a debate with Max Kellerman, and he basically, it's funny because Max was using all of my talking points. I don't know if he watches the channel, but he was using almost all my talking points word for word because he was making a case for Guillermo Rigondeaux. This was about a year ago. And, he was saying, well, yeah, but Rigo, he's faced better competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He should be in the top 3. And Jim Lampley was basically saying, well, no, because people booed him. Remember, last time he fought, there were boos in the crowd. What does boos have to do with who's better? So you mean to tell me all I have to do, if there's a guy who's pound for pound the best fighter in the world, all I got to do is go get about 20 of my friends, show up at the fight and boo him, and we could remove him from the pound for pound list? You see how stupid that sounds? That's how stupid that sounds. And let me say thanks to my man real quick. I'm going to go ahead and let him go take another call. Thanks, man. Appreciate it, all right?
I appreciate it, man. Love your show.
All right. Thank you, man. All right, man. Okay, go ahead, Kirk.
I was going to say, on one of your recent videos, there was a guy that made a comment stating that Andre Ward isn't a pound-for-pound top fighter. And he had his argument based on the fact that Andre Ward isn't a top draw as a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah.
He isn't a good pay-per-view star. And I'm like, what does that have to do with your pound-for-pound skills? Like, man, do you know what pound-for-pound means?
Dude, we could make tons of analogies. I mean, that's like a gold medalist or two fighters fighting for the gold medal in the Olympics. And let's say the Chinese fighter, he has a huge crowd backing him, watching the fight live, right, in the arena. And he's going up against the Cuban fighter. And the Cuban fighter only got about 10 people rooting for him, right? So do you say, oh, well, that gold medal, even though the Chinese or even though the Cuban guy, he won, that gold medal really means nothing because the cheers were mainly for the Chinese fighter. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter if you don't like him personally, if you don't like the way he fights. None of that matters. Only thing that matters is delivery. You know what I mean? You going out there and you winning. That's all that matters. But once again, these are just, deflections and distractions. It's a way to basically say, if we can't beat them, we simply change the rules. That's what it comes down to. Go ahead. Y'all have something else to say on that? Okay, well, I'll take another call real quick. All right, we got area code 615. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's up, Dante, man? My name Tonio. Hey, how's it going, Kurt?
Hey, how's it going, man?
All right.
Man, about the Ward and the Kovalev fight, man, I watched it twice. I'll be honest, I watched it twice. And the first time, I'll be honest, I gave it to Kovalev. I had Kovalev winning by 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Second time I watched it, I actually gave it to Ward by 1 round. So I can see where the judges came from. In my opinion, though, you don't beat a champion like that. Like you give a champion an imaginary extra point, And I don't think Kovalev should have lost. I think honestly it should have been a draw. I think it should have been a draw. I think that should have been the fair thing.
I think I agree with you. I agree with you. I could easily see it as being a draw because I'm not even going to lie. I had to fight 7-5, and then when you think about the knockdown. The fight can be a draw. Even with Andre Ward winning the fight 7-5. But my whole thing is when it comes to we hear this argument a lot when people say you got to beat the champion, you got to do this, you got to do that. But what we have to understand is judges are not taught to think that way. Judges are taught to base things off of effective aggression, ring generalship, et cetera, right? So they can't really.
Though sometimes, let's think about Danny Garcia and Hermercio. I'm butchering his name. Right now. I apologize. Yeah, man, come on. That was high rate robbery. Well, I guess that's a difference. I can't compare that.
Go ahead,
Dante, man.
No, I'll be honest. I got a little distracted. I looked at the comment, and someone just quoted you. He said, imaginary point. What the fuck is that? So I'm just,
I've seen champions, give the edge in close fights and even fights that I know that they should have lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But they give it to the champion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just personally feel, man, with the fight being so close as it is, for it to be so divided, the champion can't lose like that, man.
Yeah,
you gotta beat the champion.
In the sport of boxing, the greatest thing about boxing is there are rematches, and we're gonna see. I mean, a lot of people, they believe that Andre Ward, he has an edge in the rematch because, the general consensus is the boxer or the more slicker boxer usually does better in the rematch. But, that's no guarantee. It'll be interesting. But like I said, it's nothing wrong, with people saying that, because I can clearly see the fight. Right. I could easily see the fight as a draw. I could easily see it as a draw. I could easily see the fight going to Kovalev. But once again, there were like about 4 swing rounds in that fight, to where you still can't make a case. Round. Yeah, you can make the 3rd round. I believe even the 4th round was close. I know the 5th round, Ward, he won that hands down. I know that. But the majority of them in the first 6 was Kovalev. But like I said, you can make an argument that Andre Ward won the fight. And you could certainly make a very good argument, a strong argument, that the fight could have easily been a draw, which, that's why I want to see the rematch, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And I also want to talk about this, though, man. I think, in my opinion, HBO tanked the promotions, man. I think Kovalev, he wasn't strong enough to carry the fight, man. Ward, an American fighter. He has Rock Nation behind him, and I think they could have did a few city tours.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any face-offs.
Yeah.
We had the little
press conferences and stuff.
Pretty cool, but it didn't draw people's emotions into it, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that fight should have been promoted way bigger than what it is. And honestly, this is going to lead to my next point. I think with Rigo and Lomo, to me, Rigo is the floor light fighter without the floor light pay. So
without the Floyd what?
They don't want to put Lomo. To me, in my opinion, I think Rigo is a floor light fighter, but without the floor light pay. So they don't want to put Lomo in there with a floor light fighter and not get that payday. So I think, in my opinion, man, Rigo, he needs to stay active so his fans can see him, drop people with one punch. And that'll force people to demand the fight, man. I just think if Rigo, even if he has to fight bums, man, we just got to see him, man. We just got to see him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think as far as like, it's not even that when it comes to Loma versus Rigo, because at the end of the day, Rigo was Donair's biggest payday, and that's before Rigondeaux even fought like really anybody big, and now Rigondeaux even bigger, so we know the money is there if they really want to make it happen, and all the disadvantages is on Rigo's side. He's the smallest guy. He's the older person. He's the one who's been inactive. It's like everything's going against him, and he still won the fight, and he still want to make it happen, and HBO's still blocking it. So, I mean, if with all the disadvantages that's going on against Rigo, they still don't want to make it happen, knowing how big and historical this fight will ever be. I mean, when you think about like who have two fighters who had gold medal each fight each other. That's like Ali versus Joe Frazier. Not Joe Frazier, George Foreman. You know what I mean? And this, as far as skills, I don't see. I can't recall any fight in history that are more skillful than Rigondeaux and Loma that went against each other. I mean, in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
So that's history in itself, and they're not willing to make that happen because they don't want to risk it with Rigondeaux, and they hate Rigondeaux.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what it is, and they don't
when's
want.
the last time HBO put on a good pay-per-view since Floyd left?
Man,
like that. When was the last time they actually promoted an event and put on a good pay-per-view that drew in like mega numbers since their guy left?
Yeah, maybe Canelo versus
Cotto. That's what I was just thinking. Canelo Cotto, and that of course was nowhere near Mayweather Pacquiao type of numbers. But I mean, it's karma. Like you just said, it's karma. I mean, Mayweather, they had, and this is why when people try to say, hey, this isn't about double standards and et cetera, et cetera. When people say that, it doesn't make, they say it's about money. They say this is just all about money and that's all it's about. We know that's not true because Floyd Mayweather was the biggest moneymaker for HBO. And they hated the biggest moneymaker. The guy that was basically paying their bills, they hated him. You know what I mean? So you can't even say it's about money. We know what time it is if we being real with ourselves, so that's just pretty much what it is, man. But hey man, but thanks for your call, man. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, no problem, man. Hey, be blessed, Dante. Y'all too, man.
All right, take care, man.
Appreciate it, man.
So yeah, man, that's pretty much it, man. So anything else on your guys' mind? I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. Anything else y'all got on your mind before we wrap it up?
I just want to mention the Walter thing because I never had to talk about it. Congratulations to Lomachenko. He made it look easy. He dominated the kid, but man, Walters, I was very disappointed. They say, of course, obviously, he had ring rust and he wasn't active, and they did this to him on purpose. A lot of people saying, oh, he should have got more fights before he fought Loma. I mean, maybe he couldn't. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Apparently, they did this to him on purpose. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, he should never have quit like that. This has nothing to do with quitting in the ring with the way he did. That was like the Robert Duran of our time. Quitting like that and not showing the heart of a champion or what it takes to be a champion. And credit to Loma, he's on my top 5 pound list now. You could Andre Ward, you could say he's up there basically with Rigondeaux, Andre Ward, Crawford, and all those guys that's on the top 5 pound list. And with with Walters, I think it's going to go downhill from here now because I mean they said he got paid $300K for this fight, and even though they said that he got paid even more, which that's less than the last fight, which I'm all confused when it comes to that. But you know, other than that, thank you, Dante, for having me on the channel, and great talking boxing with y'all.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it, man. That's AK Arab King. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Go to my man's website, boxinginsider.com. Boxing writer Kirk Jackson. You already know your boy DBN, Dante's Boxing Nation. We'll be back. We're going to be doing this show every Monday. All right, we'll be doing this show on Mondays, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Go ahead and call in, you know what I'm saying, and let us know what's on your mind. Let us know if you agree, you disagree with anything that we have to say. That's pretty much all we got, guys. We on to the next one. We'll see you guys next week. It's the Nation, baby.